This trip covered a lot of ground, both figuratively and literally. I bought a car, sight unseen on the internet, and road tripped it home. So there's information here about the car, about the trip, about a couple of runs I did near Albuquerque and in Arches National Park. This is a fake Aurora Borealis, watched over by our ex-governor, Vic Atiyeh. Well, this is the rig. It's not really in great shape. Some rust on the top. And I was hoping it was not an ex-police vehicle, but it looks like it was, or is. So it's probably got 1 million miles sitting idling on it. So even though it's low miles, it's probably not in the best thing ever. Even though the roof and the hood were quite rough, the interior was in pretty good shape, and the rest of the vehicle was pretty straight and clean. At least they took the parish stickers off of it. Just years of cosmetic neglect. I'm wandering around the French Quarter. I parked up the street there. So far it's not terribly impressive, but this little alleyway looks intriguing, so I'm going to head down there. This guy has a workshop. He's the oldest gaslight manufacturer in the country. I'm having beignets and cold iced tea, unsweetened iced tea in a cafe beignet in the French Quarter in New Orleans. These beignets are unflavored. She said they're just traditional. I guess you get field trips wherever you go. This is Jackson Square. You can hear there's music in the background. This is the Cadillac Ranch outside of Amarillo, Texas. Obviously not a brothel in Vegas, but rather an art installation. All these Cadillacs buried in the dirt. I didn't realize that you were allowed to bring your own spray paint. This gal was nice enough to loan me a can of spray paint, and as you can see, I memorialized the destination of Washington on one of the cars. One of my objectives on this trip was to see Route 66. I've heard so much about it, and the trip from Amarillo to Albuquerque was all on Route 66. I was able to find remnants of the old Route 66, as you can see here, and traveled some of it, but most of the Americana that it's known for was not readily apparent. I decided that I needed new tires because the tires that were on it were providing a very rough, noisy ride. So I stopped at this place just out in the boondocks and probably paid $200 or $300 more than I needed to for a set of tires, but it certainly improved the trip. As I was crossing from Texas into New Mexico, I couldn't decide whether I wanted Mexican food or barbecue. And I ran across this little place and had barbecued brisket tacos. I stopped at this little trail by the Rio Grande. I just stopped for a second to whine. I came in this way, and this is that Rio Grande State Park in downtown Albuquerque. But it's all I can do to do a 15-minute mile, which is pretty slow. Last summer I was doing 11-minute miles. I feel like maybe I had the virus and didn't know it, because my breathing and my fatigue are much worse than they should be, seems like. Or maybe I'm just getting old, lazy, and haven't been running enough. Hard to say. So a little bit of running, not too much. I've made it to the Rio Grande. Wow, look at this. I was running by one of these things and it snagged me. Look at the size of the thorns on these things. Well, looking back, that trail didn't really go anywhere. Just kind of wound through the brush. Never did get down to the river again. I took this little side trail because it looked like so much fun. And it is, it's cool. But and this section is okay, but there's parts of it that were so overgrown, it wasn't really runnable. Hey, I found the river again. This is kind of more what I'd expected it to look like. You can see the bridge up there. When I get to that, I'll be halfway done with this run. I'm parked up the street from there a little ways. I ran north of it for a mile and back, and then I'll run south of it a mile and back. had gotten an early start getting into Albuquerque, so I left after my run and drove towards Arches, where I got to the national park prior to 5 o'clock and was able to get started looking at the park at that point.
It's about 5 o'clock. Drove into Arches. Gonna eat a sandwich for dinner. This is the windows area of Arches, and I'm on a short, what they call a primitive trail, that leads back around behind this stuff and then comes in to the main trail over on the other side there. Shouldn't be very long, can't be a mile. This is part of the primitive trail up and over this little section of slick rock.
I think it was too far.
Okay, so we're at So I got the rig, it's in four-wheel drive. So four-wheel drive does work apparently. How nice is that? And I think I'm gonna head down this road and see how far I can get. Although I'm kind of inclined to go this way and go back to Moab and get a hotel room. So we'll see. I'm in four-wheel drive low. You have to stop and put it in neutral to get into that. But this is a pretty rough road, pretty rocky. Ooh, I don't think that's gonna work. Okay, I'm out four-wheeling with these folks, and between us, none of us know anything. I couldn't get up this hill, so now I've got a spotter that's going to help me figure out the right line. So I just came down out of these hills, out of Arches, and the road, I thought it was going to be just a plain old gravel road, but it ended up being more like a Jeep trail. There were about 3 places where I was afraid I wasn't going to get out, that I wasn't going to be able to make it through. It was quite rough in a few places. So while this is no, great off-road or rock crawling vehicle, it certainly was capable on this little trip. It is a little before 7 o'clock here at Arches. I hit the front gate about 6:30. It's just dawn. It's April 4th. This is the entrance to the Devil's Playground Trail. Looks cool already. This place is pretty spectacular. My run this morning is so pathetic, it's embarrassing. So I'm only running the places where I can. Sand is not that. There are a ton of tracks in the sand this morning, and looked like maybe some of those were some sort of lizard. Trail runs up this gully, this wash. Pretty cool. Really not certain where the trail goes from here. Oh, I see some people down in that cleft down to the right. I'm kind of thinking it may go up over this slick rock, up through this little gully. Yeah, for sure. Trail goes this way. Just came up out of this canyon. It was pretty cool. This slick rock is such a pain. I came up this way, and it looks like the trail kind of goes this way, but once you get to there, I have no idea where the trail is. Just gonna have to explore till I find where it comes out of this slick area, rocky area. But even if we get lost, at least the views are nice. taken a little detour here to get to Guffey Bridge, but I thought this was funny. There's about a half mile of road where there are shoes on the top of all the fence posts. Just one of those little serendipitous fun things. This Guffey Bridge is cool. It looks neat. And I came here thinking I could make some sort of a run here. But given how poorly my runs have been going, and the apparent steepness of the terrain and how much vertical climbing there would be, and it's cold and windy, and I just essentially wimped out. Couldn't get excited about trying to do a run here. There's no maps. The satellite view on my phone doesn't work because I have no internet. There's no cell phone coverage down here. So at any rate, I'm going to bail on this one. And it's time to go home. I thought I'd stop in here. I stopped in Ontario at a recreation area there, and it was just a parking lot and boat ramp. But I thought, well, it'd still be fun to run somewhere along the Snake, but the weather is so awful, and there's no trails here either, although it looks like a guy might be able to get a 4-mile run in just along the riverbanks. But it's snowing. You probably can't see it in the video, and it's just occasional bits of snow. And it was 36 degrees at the top of the hill, and it's about 38 here. So I'm probably gonna call that 3 strikes and I'm out. On the aerial view in maps, it looked like a guy might be able to run that, but looks kind of steep. Running on that side hill is pain. And it looks flatter this way a little bit out around the corner, but it's not far enough to run. And it's cold and wet and nasty, so forget it. This is the Umatilla National Wildlife Refuge. There's not much going on here. There's like 4 of these big circular irrigated fields, and as usual with the National Wildlife Refuges, no good trail map for walking trails. I think that's a missed opportunity myself. So I'm going to run around 1 or 2 or 3 or however many it takes for me to get an hour run in, approximately 4 miles around these circles, because they look like the margins are in pretty good shape. Not too much brush, not too smooth, not too rough. The weather here is like 62, and there's a little breeze, and it's sunny. It's really nice. Much better than that 3 attempts I made to run on the Snake where it was high 30s, blowing like stink, and on the verge of raining and occasional rain and snow. I'm exactly 180 degrees around that circle from where the rig is. And on this side, there's another one. So I'm gonna make it a figure 8, even though I didn't bring my water and I should have. The surface really isn't too bad. It's kind of soft. It's obviously been plowed, and it looks like they've run the sprinklers fairly recently. So, because it's so soft and damp, it's kind of like work, but at least there's no tripping hazards or any of that sort of stuff. You just don't realize how big these things are. Well, I'm 1.5 times around. I went around that half, then I went around that whole circle. But I was too warm, so I laid my dark, sort of an army green shirt here in the grass, and now I can't find it. May end up sacrificing it. I think the new rig looks really good compared to what it could have been.
I'm going home. I'm going home. Been a long time now and I'm going home.
This is the Odd Man, out.